What's up everybody, Jared here with carbuzz.com, and today I am bringing you a full review of the 2023 Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV. So we know that the EQS debuted as a sedan model. It's actually more of a hatchback, but now they have an SUV model by the same name. It's a little bit confusing in the Mercedes-Benz lineup because you have the EQS and EQS SUV, you have the EQE and EQE SUV, you have the EQB, which is also an SUV, but it's not called the EQB SUV because the EQB doesn't have a sedan model. Like I said, a little bit confusing, but all you need to know that this is the largest electric SUV that you can buy with a Mercedes-Benz badge on it. It's actually based on the same wheelbase as the EQS. It's about 126 inches, I believe, but this model is about 8 inches longer than the sedan. So it is quite large. It is bigger than something like a BMW iX. It's a little bit smaller, I think, though, than the Rivian R1S. It is available as a 3-row model, but the one we're driving is going to be just a 2-row. Just like the EQS sedan, we've got this black panel grille. It's not really a grille, it doesn't let in any air, but as you can see, it has the little Mercedes 3-pointed star all over it. It's a little bit tacky, you might think it's cool. And then above that, we have the connected headlight bar that I actually do think looks pretty cool. This color is rather unique on a model like this. It's called Alpine Gray. I think it's like $1,000 optional extra. I don't know if I would pay that for it, but it's at least an interesting color on an otherwise kind of bland SUV. I'm sorry. I think it looks kind of blobby. I don't think it really makes too much of a statement, honestly. I didn't like how the EQS sedan looks, and I don't think they did that much better here. Although this is slightly a more conventional shape, I think it still looks kind of like a jelly bean. We've got 21-inch wheels. 20 comes standard on the EQS SUV, but if you get the 580 model, which is what we have here, 21 inches are going to be your standard, but you do have 3 different style options for that. Just like the sedan, we've got EQS here on the front A-pillar. We've got the door handles that are going to go ahead and pop out from the bodywork. They should do this automatically when you walk up to it with the key in your pocket, or you can kind of swipe it as I just did to make it pop out, and then you can grab the door handle. Here around the back, there is not too much to talk about. We've got our badging letting us know that we have an EQS 580. The 580 all comes with 4MATIC. You cannot get a rear wheel drive EQS 580, and we have that kind of connected taillight bar just like we do on the EQS sedan back here. All right, now let's check out the trunk space in the EQS SUV, which is quite good. We've got a little under 23 cubic feet of space back here with the second row in place. You can also slide up that second row pretty far to get about 31 cubic feet of space back here. So there is a lot of slide and tilt available from that second row. If you fold down the second row, which can be done very easily using these 2 buttons here on the side, you're going to open it up to about 74 cubic feet of space. Now, it's a little bit less than that if you get the third row, which sits about right here. It is a manual third row, believe it or not. You literally just grab it and pull it up and lower it down. We do not have that option. It's about $1,000 extra. It's gonna hurt your cargo area by about 3 cubic feet, so not a huge noticeable difference if you get it. So it is worth noting that you can get this as a 7-seater if you want. It's not the biggest back seat available, so it is a little bit tight back there. So if you don't need it, you could always save yourself $1,000. Something that I really like about this setup is that you can pull those buttons again and the rear seats will fold back into place automatically. That is a nice touch, but you would expect that at this price point. Since this SUV rides on the same long wheelbase as the EQS sedan, we've got plenty of room here in the back. We've got about 41.3 inches of legroom, which is really generous. See how much space I have for my knees, but we can always give ourselves a little bit less than that if we don't need it using these power adjustment seats. So it is a 60-40 split. So this is the 60 side and this is going to be the 40 side. So I can show you if I move this seat as far up as it will go, you can see you can really move this thing up. You can also recline that or recline and unrecline that seat back as well. We also have these really nice pillows. Love these. So look how far up that goes. So you can really get that far up. Maybe you have a car seat, you don't need as much leg room. You can give yourself more trunk space back there. And as you can see, ooh, yeah, it goes far enough that I could like barely fit in it, but then you could always slide it back and give yourself a ton of leg room. Now, in terms of amenities, the model that I'm testing is actually a little bit sparse. We do not have the available rear entertainment package that would give you touch screens on either side. It would also give you a wireless charger and a Samsung tablet that would live inside of this center armrest. So that is kind of cool. Although Mercedes has not yet added Netflix, Hulu, or any streaming functionalities to that rear seat entertainment system on this EQS. So honestly, I don't really miss it that much because it's not that functional to me. We do have our own climate controls back here. So we have 4-zone climate control. There is a 5th zone available as well. I believe that would be in the 3rd row. You would also get HDMI ports in here in addition to these USB-C ports if you were to get that entertainment center. We do have heated seats back here, but no ventilated seats, no massage seats. And that's not just because we don't have the top pinnacle trim of the EQS SUV. That's just because it's not offered at all on the EQS SUV. And you might think I'm just kind of complaining, oh, well, Jared doesn't get his massage and ventilated seats in the 2nd row. But the GLS, which is less money than this, it's just a gas-powered flagship SUV, does offer those features. I really don't understand why. So while this back seat is fine, I think it's more comfortable than the EQS Sedan. I definitely have more headroom. I definitely have the same amount of leg room, if not a little bit more. And the seat itself is a little bit more comfortable. We are missing a few key features that I would expect back here at this price point. We don't even get sunshades on the doors. I mean, come on, the Toyota Grand Highlander is standard with sunshades on the rear doors. That is a huge oversight on a model costing as much as this car does. Let's hop into the front seat of the EQS SUV where we can check out all of the amazing tech features because there is a lot to talk about in this car. I should first start by mentioning that this is the exclusive trim. It is the middle trim level of this model, meaning that we have heated and ventilated massage seats with this sort of basic, just vertical stripe pattern. You get a more intricate design if you get the pinnacle trim, but we do get these nice pillows on the headrests, which is really nice if you like to lean your head back. As with most Mercedes models, all of the controls here for the seats are on the door. I'm gonna go ahead and shut the door and hit the start button, which is actually down here on the EQS 580, because as you'll notice, we have quite a lot of screen on the dash and there really wouldn't be a place for a start button on this model. Now the base EQS is going to come with a 12.3-inch touchscreen in the center. It's the same as what you'd get on like the S-Class, and then you get a 12.8-inch gauge cluster. But if you get the EQS 580, which is what we have here, you're going to get the 56-inch hyperscreen. Now, it's all housed under one piece of glass that is indeed 56 inches, but it is not all one screen. This is a screen, this is a screen, and then over here on the passenger side is its own screen as well. They measure 12.3 inches here, 17.7 inches here, which is massive, it's the biggest one, and then another 12.3 inches here. We also have a massive head-up display. It's gonna be a little tough for me to show you based on the camera. I can try and get it to focus. Ignore that weird coloration, that's the camera, not the head-up display doing that. But I can tell you that this has augmented reality. It gives you like huge navigation prompts and things like that. It is one of the best head-up displays I've ever used. Here in the gauge cluster, it doesn't really matter if you have the hyperscreen or if you have the regular gauge cluster. You have a ton of different options for what you can put on this little center part of the screen. You can even have a map if you want in that area, as you can see. You can also change the theme of this as well. We've got like a sporty gauge here. We've got our understated gauge, or you can have this entire screen be a map if you don't want it up on the hyperscreen, on the main screen portion. This is going to be your main infotainment center. here, I'm gonna go ahead and shut the panoramic roof. As you can see, there is a split, but we do have shades there, and this piece does open as well. Worth mentioning, but I'm gonna go ahead and shut it so that we get a little bit less glare here on this screen. See, that is much better. So the map is always going to be in the background, which is kind of nice. And then you can kind of pull up whatever menu you want. It will learn your habits. So it learned Bluetooth connection. It learned that I like to open the trunk a lot. It might learn that you go to work every morning and you want to navigate, things like that. So it'll learn from your usage, which is quite nice. We have a lot of cool functions on here, including the ambient lighting, which I'm going to go ahead and head into my parking garage to show you because it is quite beautiful. As I mentioned, the ambient lighting is absolutely gorgeous in here. It's a bit like a discotheque. You've got all of these different multicolor options that change. It is so cool. You even have this one here that will actually like move around as you're driving, which is a little bit distracting, but kind of cool. You can do monochrome options, so you have all of these different color options here as well. And then there's different lighting effects as well. Like when you turn up the temperature, you get a red pulse that goes like that. Or if you lower the temperature, you get a blue pulse. I absolutely love the lighting in here. Some people might say it's a little bit distracting, but I think it looks really cool. This is also where you can control your massage seats and other various functions. You can either use the touchscreen or you can control this screen by swiping on this little part of the trackpad here on the wheel, which is kind of cool. Or you could say, "Hey Mercedes,
how can I help?
Tell me a joke."
What do an island and the letter T have in common? They are both in the middle of water.
Ah, okay. So you can have it do that, or you can control various functions like turning on the massage seat, whatever you want. Now down here, we've got this nice piece of wood that slides open, revealing this whole cubby area with your cup holders. You can actually remove these if you want. Your wireless charger is a little bit inconvenient. It is like in front of the cup holder, not the best spot in my opinion. And then we do have this whole kind of lower storage area with USB-C ports down here, which is pretty massive. Now, I'm gonna talk to you about this passenger screen, but I've gotta actually hop into the passenger seat to do that because it won't work from here. If you don't have anybody sitting in the passenger seat, you're just going to have a blank wallpaper screen. But if you do have somebody in this seat, it will let you turn on the passenger screen. I'm gonna go ahead and log in without a profile because I don't own this car, I don't have one. Now you can see this does a lot of the same stuff that can be done right over here, which is a little bit superfluous in my opinion, but you can adjust the radio and things like that. And the thing that's nice about this is you can connect like Bluetooth headphones to this, like if you have AirPods with you, so your passenger can be listening to different music using the car functions than the driver or the people in the back. This is great if you're a mom or dad on a road trip, the kids want to listen to something, you know, kid-friendly on the radio, and you want to listen to punk rock or something crazy like that. You could put it on this and then listen to it through your headphones. The other thing that you can also do is you can set the destination if the driver doesn't want to be distracted by doing that. You also have a few games. They're a little bit basic. You've got like Sudoku. You've got like this matching game. I guess that would be fun if like a kid were riding up here and playing. You also have an internet browser. That's kind of cool. It doesn't have Netflix, Hulu, anything like that on it yet. You'd have to plug in some kind of auxiliary video source for that. The Mercedes E-Class will debut a brand new system that will have like Netflix and stuff like that already built in. It'll also have more complex games like Angry Birds, but unfortunately that is not just a software change. It is a completely new infotainment system, so I don't think that the EQS SUV is going to get that for quite a while. All right, so let's get the 2023 Mercedes EQS SUV out on the road for our drive. Now, I'll talk to you about the powertrains first. You've got 3 available options. I mean, technically 2, but really 3. You've got the EQS SUV 450 Plus. I know, long name, but 450 Plus. That's going to be your rear drive motor. That's the one that you're going to want to get if you don't care that much about power and acceleration, but you want to get the best range. So that model produces 355 horsepower, 419 pound-feet of torque. I'll talk to you a little bit about the range later on. We'll just go over all of the power figures first. So 0 to 60 in that model is going to take 6.5 seconds, which is not particularly quick for a flagship SUV model like this. You can also get that as a 4MATIC, so EQS SUV 450 4MATIC. The horsepower number is actually going to stay the same, even though you're adding an electric motor on the front axle, but the torque is going to go from 419 up to 590, which is a significant increase. Now, Mercedes will also sell you an output increase for that model if you really, really want more power. So that will take the power from 355 horsepower up to 435. Now, there's two ways to get that. It's not actually a physical upgrade. It's just software. So you can either pay $90 a month to get 435 horsepower, or you can pay about $3,000 and you can have it permanently. That's going to lower your 0 to 60 time from 5.8 seconds to 4.9 seconds. So almost as quick as this 580 model that I'm driving. Speaking of which, the 580 model only comes as a 4MATIC with dual motors, 536 horsepower and 633 pound-feet of torque, with 0 to 60 taking just 4.5 seconds. The only model that's quicker than that at this current moment as of filming is the Maybach 680. There is no AMG variant of the EQS SUV just yet. And as I'm about to show you, there is absolutely no need for an AMG model in my opinion. This EQS 580 is plenty quick, 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. I'm gonna come to a stop. I'm gonna go ahead and put the dynamic setting into sport mode. I'm gonna mash the brake and the throttle and then let go. Woohoo! Whoa, that is quick. We've got some tree debris in the road that I need to dodge there. Oh, that was really, really fast. And you might have heard that as I did that, it wasn't silent in here. You could make it silent, but we have the Mercedes sound experience. So when you go ahead and put your foot on the throttle, it's going to make one of 3 acceleration noises. So this one is called Vivid Flux. It's like the most futuristic of the 3. I'm gonna go ahead and shut up for a second so you can go ahead and listen to it as I floor it. Let me wait for the road to straighten out. All right, that's interesting, kind of spaceshipy. I'm gonna switch to Silver Waves. We're gonna see how that sounds. All right, ready? That also sounds pretty futuristic. It's more of a, like a wafting wave. And then we've got Roaring Pulse. This is the last one. Ready? Wow, 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 wow. Oh, that one was kind of cool too. They all make sort of deceleration noises as well. So if you don't like to drive in absolute silence, you can turn these on or off. I'm gonna go ahead and turn them off. You can have them both inside and outside, by the way. And now that they're both off, silent acceleration. And now that we're done talking about acceleration, let's talk about probably the more important aspect of the EQS SUV, which is how it drives. The steering is very light, but pretty decently accurate. We've got air suspension as standard, and it's pretty comfortable, but I gotta say, I was expecting a little bit more at this price. This is a 6-figure car. It handles like the small imperfections in the road just fine, but over like bigger impacts, I can definitely feel them more than in something like a GLS or an S-Class. And I just gotta say, I'm a little disappointed in that, to be honest. It is extremely quiet in here. We actually have an additional acoustic glass option that's gonna make this interior even quieter than it otherwise would be, and it is really silent in here. So it's not an uncomfortable place to spend time, but I was just expecting a little bit more at this price point. Now the EQS does handle decently well. I would say it feels a little more athletic than something like a GLS due to its lower center of gravity. We've got standard rear axle steering on this model with 10 degrees, so you can do U-turns so easily in this car. Like literally like within a single lane, you can just twist it, and like the turning circle is unbelievable. You can do it No problems at all. I just did like a full 360-degree turn. That was so easy. I love that Mercedes puts rear wheel steering on all of these bigger flagship models. It needs to be available on more cars. But now sadly, I've got to talk to you about the biggest pain point with these Mercedes EVs. It's something that I was baffled by the first time I experienced it, and it really hasn't gotten any better having driven this EQS SUV for an entire week, and that is the brake pedal. So the EQS SUV, like other Mercedes models, offers 3 different regen modes. You have strong recuperation, normal recuperation, you have no recuperation, and then you have intelligent recuperation. So I guess technically it's 4 modes. If I put it onto strong recuperation, I basically have one pedal driving. However, my complaint with this is that even the strong recuperation isn't quite strong enough. So I'll lift my foot off of the throttle and it slows me down, but often not quickly enough to come to a full stop before I hit the car in front of me, which means that I have to go from the throttle to the brake pedal, which is something that I seldom ever have to do in other EVs. And here lies the problem. When you lift off of the throttle, the brake pedal moves when you regen. It physically moves. I know that the car is decelerating, I can feel it, but I don't need the pedal to actually move as if the brakes were being activated. So when I go to move my foot from the accelerator to the brake, the pedal isn't where I left it, which is such a weird feeling. And then when I get back on the throttle, because I'm in one pedal mode, the brake moves back to its original position. This is such a baffling move by Mercedes. I cannot understand why they decided that this was a good idea. No other EV that I've ever driven does this, and it is outright weird. I really hate it. And now before I pull over to talk about pricing and finish up the video, let's talk about range, because obviously very important with any EV that you're looking to buy. We've got a massive battery pack, 108.4 kilowatt hours in all 3 variants of the EQS SUV. The 450 Plus, like I mentioned, is going to be your range king with 305 miles. That's pretty good for a vehicle of this size and weight. If you step up to the 450 4MATIC or you get the 580, both of those are rated at 285 miles. There's no penalty from going from the 450 4MATIC up to the 580 4MATIC. So if you can afford the 450 4MATIC, I guess you might as well go for this 580 model with more power. In terms of charging, we've got pretty quick onboard charging of 9.6 kilowatts. Should get you a full charge in just over 11 hours, which is really not bad considering how big this battery is. And the charging speed on a DC fast charger is pretty good as well. It's not class leading, but you should get 200 kilowatts peak, meaning you should get from about 10% battery to 80% battery in 31 minutes. And if you buy an EQS, whether it be this SUV or the sedan model, you'll get 2 years of free charging from Electrify America. So all pretty good on those fronts. So that wraps up our time with the Mercedes EQS SUV. Before the weather starts to become all Florida on me and get me drenched, let's go ahead and price out the EQS SUV. This is a flagship EV model, so it is quite expensive, as I've been alluding to in this video. The base price of an EQS 450 Plus, that rear-wheel drive model, is going to be just over $104,000. Stepping up to the exclusive trim is going to bring that up to $108,000, and then the pinnacle trim is going to be over $110,000. If you want to add 4MATIC to the EQS 450, you're going to be looking at about $107,000, $113,000 if you want that pinnacle trim. And if you want the EQS 580, the most powerful model outside of the Maybach, that's going to run you just under 126 grand for the premium trim, a little over 130 grand for the exclusive trim like we have here. Or if you want the pinnacle, it's going to be just over $132,000. I don't think it's really out of the realm of possibility that you would just upgrade to the pinnacle. There's not that big of a price gap between those. However, as we saw, I think the EQS SUV is missing a lot of key features that I think would make it really, really worth this price. I don't think it makes that big of an impression from the outside. It's not as comfortable as I would have hoped. And the back seat is really missing out on a ton of key features that you can get on other Mercedes-Benz models as long as they are powered by a gasoline engine. I don't know why Mercedes is insistent that their electric models have to be so different and weird and not as feature contented as their gasoline models. And I think that as of right now, that is holding them back. If I were in the market for a luxury electric SUV and I didn't need the third row that's offered in this, I like the BMW iX a lot better. I know that really competes more with the Mercedes EQE SUV, but I got to imagine that that car is going to have a lot of the same problems that I found with this one. I think Mercedes needs to go back to the drawing board and figure out what its customers are looking for in an electric vehicle, because I just don't think that this is it. I really hope you've enjoyed this look at the 2023 Mercedes EQS SUV. For more videos like it, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. I'll see you next time.